Go ahead, have a seat for me. If you're not already seated, that's right, sit down. I'm sure you do this task multiple times a day, whether it be at the office, in the car, taking a load off, taking a dump in your car. It's something you do without hesitation. But how did we, as bipedal beings, come to do this on a regular basis? Well, we can sit on the floor, on the ground, like our forefathers, like our four-legged baboon friends before us. Or we can use chairs, technology, tools, invented to elevate us from the ground. This is a video about chairs. Go ahead, stay seated. Sitting is something we do unconsciously, but I'd argue that no space is complete without a chair or two. But how did we go from sitting on the ground, on our knees, and even squatting to what we know as modern seating? Well, the first chairs date back to the Neolithic era, stone slabs made to separate your ass from the grass, though this is not the modern chair, since we know the modern chair as one that involves a certain sense of elevation. The modern elevated seat can be dated to around roughly 2800 to 3200 BC. This is the dynastic period of Egypt. Though these humans dreamed of seats much like droids dream of sheep, we know that these are not the first modern iteration of the chair. There are artistic depictions of seating dating all the way back to 2700 BC in the Argan Sea. Now I'm sure you noticed something very particular about that seating. It was elevated. That's because seating was only reserved for those of elevated status. Now, you might ask yourself, how did seating become something for the common man, the everyman, like you and I? Contemporarily, a seating can be traced back to the Greek klistemos. The klistemos, with its curved legs and back, would be the first of many mass-market seating designs. And though while the curule chair was equally as popular amongst the Greco-Roman girlies, the title of this video is in fact, this is a video about chairs, not this is a video about stool. Oh, the curule would eventually give way to what we know as the curule chair. Curule chair and or curule stool with its cushioned stool would be the building block for many a contemporary chair. And though its curved legs do in fact steal the show, would be the design of the structurally supportive X-frame, which would be the most important building block to what we now know as the modern chair. It's fundamentally and arguably the most important point of a chair because it separates your ass from the grass, because it structurally supports and reinforces the chair and or its leg. And this, one of the most important structural elements and components of a chair, allowing for proper weight distribution, also ensuring that the chair maintains its structural shape and integrity, no matter the weight, wear, use put upon it. Where were we in our journey through seating? So looking at my timeline and comparing my notes, we're somewhere in the early Middle Ages, perhaps in France to be exact. Now, the medieval period, is where we start to see more ornamentation on chairs, and while this isn't necessarily true, it is the period when this intricate level of ornamentation begins to take hold, carving into woods, and not just simple shapes or patterns, but even anthropomorphic patterns. For example, the aforementioned throne of King Dogbert has panthers carved into its legs, with the two perforated and intricately decorated panels making up its armrest. Very luxurious indeed. Next on our list of seating is going to be the Macintosh chair. Now granted, there are a few different versions of the Macintosh chair. The version most commonly talked about, described, and mentioned is going to be the one that was designed for Hill House in Glasgow, Scotland. Both, which the traditional originating design of the Macintosh chair you should see on screen now, were both designed by Charles Rene Macintosh. Now, there are many different versions of a Macintosh chair. Think of it as like a micro genre of chairs, a sub-chair movement, right? But the original design you see on screen is gonna be the original one that led to it being mass-produced. Pretty sick chair. I hope you still seated. And this is where we start to move into the era of the modern chair, with things like the Baltimore fancy chair coming up, right? The Cubist chair. Chairs that you might even know by name, not this weird historical geriatric shit. So stay seated. Welcome to Baltimore. Baltimore. Sadly, the fancy chair factory was closed. I'm not doing a bit either. The Baltimore fancy chair can come from many a manufacturer, though we attribute it to John and Hugh Finley. It's almost like a bit of a chair mullet, with its business in the front mentality and its two vertical legs party in the back going on. I love these legs because they not only offer support, but a visual offset from the rounded back, giving the chair an overall sleek and modern look. Quite the fancy chair if you ask me. I did also mention the Cubist chair by Joseph Hoffman, but this chair is kind of ugly, so let's just enjoy our Baltimorean fancy chairs. Though, in comparing and contrasting these two seating examples, it slowly gives us a better idea of what we know as modern seating and what makes modern seating modern. And while these chairs and materials might not be the exact same, we are still using some of these designs after all. But these chairs don't evoke a sense of modernity. So what are these modern materials? This is also your last call for crab cakes, because we're leaving Baltimore after this line. What's up? Welcome back. So we're about to enter the modern chair era. So what does that mean? These are going to be chairs that are made using contemporary materials. So essentially anything that's not wood. So steel, and one of the most versatile materials known to man. And no, this isn't sarcasm. But before I get to modern plastic, we have to talk about precursors to modern plastic. And that's going to be Bakelite. So what is Bakelite? Extremely complex, multi-fucking syllable word that makes supercalifragilisticexpialidocious look like a fucking toddler's word. I'm probably gonna butcher this. So, polyoxybenzylmethylglycolide. Holy shit, I think I actually got that right. Once again, that's polyoxybenzylmethylglycolide. Alright? So obviously a very complex molecule structure, a type of resin, right? Though I feel it's unfair to compare Bakelite to plastic, since modernly speaking, we think of plastic as soft and malleable. Think of the monoblock chair, one of the most famous chairs. You probably sat in one. Though Bakelite is far more durable and wins out to plastic, modern furniture or modern plastic furniture wouldn't come around until the mid 1950s-ish, and Bakelite came out in 1907. Though one of the biggest drawbacks to Bakelite is its inability to be fixed once damage happens. So there's not a single piece of Bakelite furniture that's known as the Bakelite piece of furniture though, but Bakelite chairs are most commonly what is used in most schools. So yeah. Let's get into modern mass market seating, so plastic and steel. So steel would begin to take hold in the furniture market during the early turn of the century, so think 1920s. This brings us to the first known mass market chair. So I know I'm kind of breaking character, I don't feel like doing this silly goofy voice today. Chair is probably my personal favorite chair on this list, the Wasali chairs and all the similar chairs to them. So the Wasali chair, invented in 1925 by Marcel is a boneless, deconstructed chair, but it has a bent bicycle tube inspired design, very reminiscent of the cubist chair. The Wasali chair deconstructs the chair to the most basic of form. Common fabrication to find a Wasali chair in is in earnest yarn, which is an iron-based yarn, which is still used and the most common choice today. Though it's very easy to get the Wasali chair confused with Club Chair LC2, which uses a very similar modular steel tubing design, though this is not to be mistaken for D4 chair, which is similar to the Wasali, which is technically indicated as the B3 chair, but has many different structural elements, including changes regarding the legs in particular. So keep in mind that the Wasali chair B3 has an open box-like structure mimicking the inner frame and makeup of an actual armchair, while the D4 has folding legs similar to the aggressive and aforementioned X-frame. Though all these chairs in question aren't to be confused with the cantilever chair B55. I'm gonna be real, once I learned how to do this, it was a wrap, bro. Everything started to look like the shit from the Brutalist. Like, I'm gonna be so honest, I'm gonna be so real. Most chairs are like the same but different, except for like the wood and plastic ones. But I'll cut for commercial and then we'll talk about kind of the shaped woods and the molded plastics. Speed stacks! Welcome to the world of professional cup stacking. Other sports not extreme enough for you? Well, get into cup stacking, kid. First you stack them and then you cash them. Then you do it all over again and stack them down. Other STEM toys might teach you a valuable life skill, but speed stacking just makes you look cool. And don't worry, ladies can stack too. That's right, patriarchy, how fast can you stack? Speed stacks is uber portable too. That way you can stack anywhere, stack anytime. Stack anywhere from the gym to the sky. Speed stack it up with the Speed Stack Starter Pack, tutorial DVD included. So the chair that's on your screen now is the Barcelona chair, which is part of a larger trend of steel-based chairs at this point in time, which is going to be the early 19th century. That being said, you'll notice that the Barcelona chair looks very similar to one of the predecessors we spoke about earlier in this video, which is the Carul chair. That's what's so interesting about chair design, is that it all seems to stack upon itself. A lot of these steel-based chairs have a tendency to look somewhat similar, mainly due to the fact that nobody really wants to sit in a seat made of steel. There's only so much you can do with said design until the introduction of bent wood in the late 1850s, as well as plastic. And plastic is super important because it helped to democratize design as well as furniture. And Ray and Charles Eames in particular helped to pioneer plastic furniture, hence why their chairs are a household name to this day. But in 1948, the chair that we now know as both iconic and timeless, especially in its plastic form, the molded side chair, originally debuted in 1948 as a fiberglass chair, part of the affordable furniture exhibition, with the plastic model not being introduced until the 1960s. But the change that gave us the Eames plastic chair gave us a numerous amount of chairs, because injection molded plastic was just a process that wasn't democratized or affordable at this moment in time. That being said, there are many a precursor and equivalent to the monoblock chair, another one of them being the Werner Pranton S chair, made using the same injection molded plastic process that it's used in the monoblock chair, though the initial version and prototype was made using a bent wood press process, which would help and usher in a new era of chair design throughout the 20th century. Now granted, bent wood was nothing new. This technique was invented in the mid 1800s and allowed you to obviously bend wood like its name implies. Though there's two different ways to bend wood, and the bend wood that I'm talking about that was introduced in the mid 20th century is a pressed bent wood process, which involves taking multiple pieces of wood and gluing them together, bending them in the process. The bent wood process differs from the bent wood process, which was introduced in the late 1850s, which was bending a single piece of wood, normally wet, and then working said bent wood into whatever shape and ideal form you desire. So, what's unique about the bent wood process is that most furniture, most wood is sculpted, meaning that you chip and chisel away at a larger block until you kind of find the ideal shape and form. Here, bent wood is wood being manipulated. Though not explicitly using a singular technique out of any of the processes that I just stated, I think it's really important to talk about the peacock chair and its process. Peacock chair, which rose to popularity in the late 1970s, became a huge part of the Black Panther, Black Power, and Black Liberation movement. Ironic, chair is actually of Philippine origin. Technique that's used to make the chair is what makes it so cool. It's essentially using a bent wood form and shaping technique to create its initial arch, and then that chair is more or less structurally woven together, using similar techniques to the bent wood technique, but because of the delicacy of each wood lattice on it, usually woven and then wrapped as a final sealing layer. The initial curvature, shape, hoops, etc. being multiples of these lattices together. Peacock chairs are usually made out of bamboo, though this is no different from the process that you see for wicker, rattan, or raffia furniture, of which are part of the woven woods family of furnishings and fabrications. The final chair on our list I want to talk about today is the ghost chair invented in 2002, and you'll notice that I skip ahead a handful of decades, moving past and ignoring most of the postmodern furniture. It's not that I'm not interested in, I feel like talking about it would derail the video too much because a lot of those designs are inherently designed to be disruptive and deconstructive. That being said, I think the ghost chair does a good job of illustrating what a monoblock is and what a monoblock can be. Like I said prior, the Werner Pranson S chair is also a monoblock. And I feel like it's weird that the monoblock has become such a staple and such a mainstay in popular culture, when not only more durable chairs but more visually appealing chairs can be made using the same processes. Though I understand that a lot of the appeal is the cheap plastic that is used to make a monoblock chair. It costs around maybe $2 to $3 for a manufacturer to make a monoblock chair. Rather, more durable chairs using more heavy duty plastics, more thicker filaments, are going to run up price for the manufacturer. That being said, plastic or affordable furniture doesn't have to be cheap or ugly. That being said, that concludes a video about chairs. Thank you so much for staying seated during it. If you liked what you saw, maybe stay seated, watch another video. Tell your friends. If you're feeling very charitable, join my Patreon. But definitely let me know if you were rocking with this video. Maybe I'll drop a sequel. This is a video about chairs too. I'll talk about the racer chair. Maybe I'll make this as a video about tables. Who knows? That being said, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here because the video is in fact over. With the video being over though, I don't know what I'm going to do and I don't know what you're going to do. I might go practice my guitar, my instrument. Maybe you should stream my music. I don't know. I'm not the boss of you, right? Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend some time with me. I'm greatly appreciative. Thanks for listening. Bye.